On this week's edition of the Loud Nerd in the Basement podcast, I go over Supergirl floundering at the box office, DC announcing three new animated shows, and Christopher Nolan talking about how Hollywood needs to take more risks. All this and more on the Loud Nerd in the Basement podcast. Welcome back to another Friday News Roundup edition of the Loud Nerd in the Basement podcast. As always, I'm your host, Adam Zolnai. Thank you so much for listening, however you may be listening. A reminder that this show is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and Substack, of course. And if you check out that YouTube channel, I am doing more YouTube shorts now, so check those out if you subscribe to that if you want to see those whenever they come out. I don't have a set schedule yet, but I'm still playing around with the format and timing of it and everything and seeing what all I can do or want to do with those, but it's been a lot of fun experimenting with that, and I hope you enjoy the ride, so to speak, as I figure that all out. I feel like an old man sometimes dealing with this technology. I'm only in my early 30s and I've been around the internet and computers most of my life, but man, there are times where I'm like, am I getting too old for this? It's a scary thought, but I hope you all are doing well. I hope you're staying cool. Where I am, it is hot and muggy. Not fun. Getting ready for the 4th of July holiday weekend here in America, so excited about that. It's going to be a very stereotypical 4th of July, I think, with the heat. Means staying inside, watching patriotic movies, and eating as much hamburgers and hot dogs as possible. But thank you as always for your support. We just hit 700 subscribers on my Substack, so thank you so much for your support there, whether it's a paid subscription or a free subscription. Thank you so much for reading and engaging with my content. I'm hoping that you're enjoying it. I try to make sure every week that I provide you something great to listen to, something wonderful to read. That's what I'm going for, so I really hope that you're enjoying it, and thank you so much for getting me there. I have a goal to get to 1,000 by the end of the summer, and I really think I can do it with your help. So I appreciate that. So share the Substack, share the show. If you know someone that might like this, rate the show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. That helps get the word out. You know, the stereotypical like and subscribe. I know it's a cliche, but apparently that's what helps the algorithm like me more. So if you could do that, I would really appreciate it. And if you're on a free subscription and want to get the full experience of Loudner in the Basement, I highly recommend that you upgrade to the paid tier. It's only $6 a month or $50 a year. So only a cup of coffee or less than most streaming subscriptions cost you in a year. So not much, but it does help support me, helps me be able to get more content, helps me be able to go see movies so I can talk about them and review them for you. All that would be really would help really grow my Substack and again give me more content, because in addition to all of what you get as a free subscriber, as a paid subscriber you get access to spoiler articles. I just did a spoiler-free review for Supergirl, and a spoiler article for that will be coming out this coming Monday. So if you're a paid subscriber, you'll get access to that, where I'm able to go into my full thoughts on the movie, spoilers galore, all of that. You also get access to monthly rewind reviews of old films. I did one of James Gunn's Superman for June, and in a couple weeks, I'll have one that was requested by one of my paid subscribers, called the movie's called Mystery Men. I've never seen it before, but they requested it, and so I reviewed it. That'll be coming out on the Substack in a couple weeks, and that's another perk of being a paid subscriber. You get to ask me questions that I will answer here on the podcast. Got a few today that are really good, and you can request me to review a certain movie. No horror movies, please. I'm not much of a horror movie buff, so it'll just be I was scared and I couldn't sleep for the next 3 nights. Thank you. That'll be the review, and I don't think you'll get your money's worth out of that. But if it's a superhero movie, a nerd movie, Star Wars, Mission Impossible, Spider-Man, whatever, a Christopher Nolan movie, whatever, I will review it, and you'll get access to that review as a paid subscriber. So if that sounds like something you would like to do, just go head on over to Substack and click the upgrade button on there, and it'll walk you through all the steps to become a paid member. And thank you so much. But with that, let's get into the news. And it's a little bit of dour news to start out with. Like I said before, I reviewed DC's newest film, Supergirl. I know there's a lot of talk and buzz about this movie on the internet, some good, some bad. I I I don't try to listen to all the culture war stuff because I think it's a lot of nonsense, and I'm one of those people that believes that Twitter is not real life, so it's a very small vocal minority making a fuss where most normies do not pay attention to that. I still think that's true. I think Twitter is in its own little bubble, and there's a lot of people out there that don't listen or don't care about that stuff or don't even know about the stuff. They just care, do I want to see this movie or not? And so I'll just say right off the bat, I don't address that in my review. I don't care. I think it's a lot of baloney personally, but whatever. But the news is that Supergirl could reportedly lose Warner Brothers up to 100 million during its theatrical run. In its opening weekend, it made 38 million domestically and 68 million in total for the weekend on a budget of 170 million and another 120 million to market it. So it would need around 375 million to 300 to 375 million to break even. It doesn't look like it's going to do that. Peter Safran, co-head of DC Studios, came out and said that it didn't meet expectations, but they're still confident in their plans with the DCEU. So I guess the biggest thing would be, well, why did this happen? How did this happen? Because Superman was a critical hit, an audience hit. It made decent box office numbers. It was the highest grossing superhero movie of the year last year. It beat all the MCU movies that came out, which Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four First Steps I thought were good. So it's not like it was the only good comic book movie we got last year. So the thing is why did this fail? And obviously there can be speculation again. I don't think it was had anything to do with the culture war controversies around it or whatever. I think there's a few factors. One, timing. I think it did come out in a very crowded time. If this had come out in like September or late August, I think it would have done a little bit better. I think too, as much marketing as they spend on it, I don't think it was spent in the right way, because there were a lot of people that I've seen that were like, "Oh, I forgot this was coming out," or I didn't really see it advertised anywhere. Like, I think there was a KFC tie-in, but I mean, okay, people going to KFC aren't going to be looking for Supergirl. It's not like a McDonald's. I just think that's a weird place to tie it in. I mean, there was like makeup marketing campaign, which makes some sense, with Supergirl, but even still, it's not like that people buying makeup are going to be like, oh, I should go see the movie. Like, so there's that. I mean, there was the trailers in front of movies, but I didn't even see that many TV spots for it. So I just wonder if it kind of got lost in the shuffle. And on top of that, Supergirl is a niche character, especially this take on Supergirl is much more recent. Obviously, it's based on the comic by Tom King, Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, that came out like 3 years ago, I think, 3 or 4 years ago. And then Supergirl's kind of characterization here was really started only in like 2011, where she's more angry. She's not like her cousin Superman. She has trauma that she has to deal with. She's got to be reined in a little bit with her powers more than Superman. So I I think all these factors kind of combined and just do a perfect storm of disappointment where they just didn't put it in the right place. And again, the thing is, spoilers for my review, it's not a bad movie. I think some of the hate is over exaggerated. Is it the Dark Knight level or even the level of James Gunn's Superman? No. It's a middling superhero movie where it has its problems, but in the end, I like Supergirl as a character, and I'm excited to see her in Man of Tomorrow, the sequel to Superman next year. It's not like it's this horrible, just box like it's not a Morbius, it's not a Madam Web, it's not a Halle Berry Catwoman style movie where it's just it's horrible, don't go see it. I don't know why it's getting panned in such reviews. Like, yeah, it's not a perfect script, but it is something different in the superhero genre. It feels like very much a revenge western in space kind of thing, which is very unique. And again, they very much lean into the fact that Supergirl is dealing with a lot of stuff, and the movie doesn't shy away from that. So I just don't know if it's just the wrong time, or maybe this is not a movie that you start as your second universe. Like the comparison I would put it as is it's the Incredible Hulk Iron Man 2 of the DCU, where it's like you have the first installment with Iron Man and James Gunn's Superman comes out swinging really good. Everyone's like, "Yay, new universe, let's go!" Like I'm excited to see what happens next. And then it's like the next one comes out, it's like, "Oh, this is different from that thing. This isn't what I was expecting. It's not as well written as that thing." Oh well, and I think that's part of it, and it's just maybe there is a little bit of superhero fatigue. I mean, obviously, I think that all those arguments will go away because I think Spider-Man's going to clean up at the box office. That thing is making $1 billion easily. I don't know about Avengers Doomsday though. I don't think that makes $1 billion. I think Secret Wars will cross the $1 billion mark. Um, but yeah, it's just there's a lot of factors where as to why I think this failed. I don't think it's just one reason or another. I think it's just again crowded box office and not as familiar with the character because I've also again like I said before, online is not representative of real life, but I will say I have seen people who were like very surprised about this characterization of Supergirl. And it's like, well, yeah, if you haven't read comics in the past 15 years or so, then you wouldn't know that they kind of changed how she acts. She's not just Superman, but in a skirt. Like she has her own characterization that's different from Superman, and I that's what I like about her as a character is that you kind of get to do things with her that you can't do with Superman just because it would be out of character for him. Like you can't have Superman really mad or depressed for a whole movie. That's really not his character. Uh, Supergirl, you could do that with because you can the backstory for her lends itself to more of that style of storytelling. So I don't think the DCU is in trouble yet. Again, kind of like what I said last week. Clayface, that movie's being made for cheap. It should make its money back. They're doing the smart thing of putting it out in October since it's going to be more of a horror movie in set in the DC universe. Again, $40 million, so it doesn't need a lot to break even. So even if it makes, you know, 120 million, 150 million dollars, like that movie will more than make its money back. I think Man of Tomorrow, I think that will be okay. That one I think definitely will need to make more money, but again, it's coming out next July, and without looking at the schedule, I think the only big competition we'll have to worry about is the last Spider-Verse movie. But again, that movie's also been moved around a couple of times, so I think that's now coming out in June. So between the weeks between the Spider-Verse movie and the Superman sequel, there should be enough time that they don't cannibalize each other in the way that Superman and Fantastic Four came out right next to each other, which I think was a mistake back then. Again, the summer movie season, it's awesome that there's a movie every week I want to see, but at the same time, it's like this is too packed for normal audiences. Audiences can't spend 50 to $100 a week to go see movies all the time. They usually can only pick one, and there's going to be winners and losers because of that. So I'm still taking a wait and see approach, but like I've said, I think James Gunn needs to start breaking out the big guns. I think this means that after Superman, I could definitely see them fast tracking a Wonder Woman movie, which is already in development. The Batman one, again, like I've said a million times, that one they're just going to have to wait for Matt Reeves' Batman to come out and then give that a little space to be its own thing before they can introduce their version of Batman, so you don't have two Batman movies coming out within a year of each other. I just think that's too much, but I think this also means we're not going to see anything like Clayface for a while. Well, at least I hope so. I mean, there was talk of a Deathstroke and Bane movie being in development. Just turn that into your Batman movie. Make them the Batman villains of that movie, where it's Batman and Robin fighting Bane and Deathstroke. Do that. Like, don't do any more villain movies like Clayface. Unless, even if you could do it for cheap, you got to start building up to Justice League. Like, I know Gunn loves his side characters, but if you're wanting to build a universe, you can't afford to wait 10 years to do Justice League, like I've said before. So I'm hoping that this, if nothing else, kind of forces Gunn to have to focus more on the mainstream characters than doing all these side projects. Like, if you want to do your Jimmy Olsen Gorilla Garage show for HBO Max, I'm fine with that. Let the more side character, weird stuff. And I'm not saying Supergirl is a side character. I think there's a reason why they're doing this next, because it builds into Man of Tomorrow, and this definitely feels like at the end of the movie that's the beginning of an arc for her, and beginning of a real character change that's going to take course over the next few movies. But I think definitely needs to start. Gunn needs to start bringing out the big guns. So big guns, totally unintentional, but we'll see. Again, I'm not pressing the panic button yet. This one stinker is not going to derail an entire universe, and especially, thankfully, it didn't cost 300 million, 400 million to make, so it's not going to be a huge loss. And again, I think Clayface will help kind of recoup some of what this movie lost, but definitely think that this means Gunn will have to lock in and start. Okay, we need to bring in some of our big superheroes. We need to start building the Justice League. At least that's what I think the response should be. But we'll see. Speaking of DC, we also got some announcements from some animated series coming from Warner Brothers that I assume will probably be on HBO Max. The first one is an adaptation of the comic Absolute Batman. Now, if you're not a comic book reader, they introduced this whole alternate universe line called the Absolute Universe. And basically, it's a more edgier and darker version. And I say that in a complimentary way, not in a disparaging way. It's a more edgy version of these characters, and you have Absolute Batman, which has been selling like gangbusters for comics. And the whole idea is basically it's a reimagining of Batman where he only lost one parent, and the parent was killed while at a trip to the zoo. He's a blue collar kid. He's not rich. Alfred is like a special secret agent. He's like 6'9" and just jacked out of his mind. If you just look up a picture of Absolute Batman, he's just ripped and shredded. He's friends with like the Penguin and Killer Croc, and he's not afraid to get up to the edge of killing people. Like, he has an axe. The bat symbol in his chest turns into an axe that he can cut people's hands off when they're holding guns. Like, it's all sorts of crazy. There's even a panel of him drop kicking a child that tries to stab him. So, this Batman does not care at all. Like, if you are a bad guy, he will beat you up. But that's being adapted. I think that's smart. I think using some of your more popular comic runs and turning those into animated shows that aren't related to the DCEU or DCU, excuse me, is not a bad idea. It's something I wish Marvel would do more of. I mean, they have X-Men 97 coming out that just started this week. I haven't gotten a chance to watch it yet, but I'm excited to. Both of these companies should do that more. Just lean into what comic runs people loved and just adapt them into cartoons. And especially in the case of like Disney, it's like you made your bones doing animated stuff. Like, I remember when Marvel Studios got acquired by Disney, and one of the things people immediately thought was like, okay, so when is Pixar making a Marvel movie? And of course that never happened. And they made some cartoons to varying degrees of success, but for me, the X-Men 97 one's really the only one that's kind of taken off. What If took off a little bit, but by season 3, I didn't even watch it. I could care less. It just seemed to be kind of boring Elseworlds pitches. It's like, no, just adapt comic runs. We got so many of them on both sides that it's just, yeah, just take that comic run and make it an episodic cartoon show. Like, do that. So I'm very much excited for this, and especially it sounds like they're going to be adapting the art style of the comic, which I'm really happy about. I love it when they do that because it's just again another one of those like, oh yes, I'm getting to see the comic in motion and with voice work. Like, let's do that. But another one that's being brought to DC from DC Studios is called Joker Laugh Riot. And at first I was like, oh great, yay, another Joker centered thing. We need more of that. But apparently the synopsis is, and I quote, and this is from Hollywood Reporter: when Batman is murdered, the Joker launches a ruthless crusade through Gotham's underworld to find the killer who took away his greatest adversary. But as his violent quest for answers pushes him closer towards vigilante than villain, Joker is forced to confront the truth that without Batman, he doesn't know who he is. All right, this sold me. That actually sounds like it could be really really good. Of just the idea of like we've seen what happen we've seen in like the Arkham games what happens when Joker dies. Like, what is Batman without the Joker? But flipping that, like, what is Joker without Batman? And I love the idea that it turns him to almost like an anti-hero because it's like, well, I guess I have to provide that balance that he and I kind of brought to us for the I have to do it for the both of us. And uh, that's kind of interesting, and I think I'm going to check this out. This sounds really really fun. Again, for someone who's kind of tired of the Joker, again, if you're a comic book fan like me, there was a time where it just felt like Joker was everywhere, especially after the Dark Knight. It's like people remembered once more that was like, oh yeah, Joker's a really popular Batman villain. It's like it felt like every 2 years we were getting a big Joker centered event, and it was just like, okay, can we move on from the Joker? And then it's like, and then Joker showed up in Suicide Squad, and then they did the Joker movie, and it was just like, okay, like Batman has a huge rose gallery with a lot of great villains that aren't just the Joker, and so I was a little skeptical by this announcement, but now they've kind of got me intrigued. And then the final one, which I think this is good, give something for more that's more geared towards kids, and it's actually being uh, helmed by C.H. Greenblatt, who apparently was part of SpongeBob SquarePants, and so he knows a lot about children's television. Comes, and this is DC Studios, so this is or not. Well, this of course is DC Studios. But it sounds like it might be DCU connected, and it's crypto. And the tagline is basically, quote, when he's not hanging out with Superman or Supergirl, Crypto tags along with a gang of misfit criminal wannabes who live down the block, and they soon discover he's evolved destructive, lovable energy worse than any of them. As he follows them into misadventures and poorly laid plans, Crypto's pure nature slowly ends up redeeming them, whether they want it or not. So that sounds like it could be fun, especially for like a more kid oriented audience. I think that's fun, and I don't think there's a lot of. It especially sounds like it might be something a little bit more sophisticated than your normal run of the mill kids cartoon. So I'm fine with this, and it's one of those where out of the three of them, this is probably the least one I'm least excited for, but it's okay. I'm glad that they're diversifying a little bit more and giving some interesting cartoon choices, and especially after not really having like a standard Batman cartoon. I mean, we had the Cape Crusader from Amazon, but that looked like it wasn't for me. I appreciated what they were going for. It just wasn't my cup of tea. But after that, we really haven't gotten like a standard cartoon series from really either Marvel or DC. Like, again, Marvel did X-Men 97, but there really hasn't been anything else. And so I'm excited to see these studios kind of leveraging these characters for animation. And I wouldn't be surprised with the Crypto series if we get voice cameos from Millie Alcock and David Cornsweet as Supergirl and Superman, respectively. I wouldn't be surprised if we did that because Gunn has confirmed that whoever is cast in live action or animation plays that character in both mediums, which I appreciate that's fun because and I understood it in What If it was jarring at times where it's like, okay, Tony Stark definitely does not sound like Robert Downey Jr. Like it's a guy trying to be like Robert Downey Jr., but I mean it's RDJ. You really can't replicate him. So it can be a little distracting. So I'm glad that they have that policy. But overall, I'm excited for this. I mean, yeah, bring on more animated projects. I love that, and especially because like animation is a lot easier to do now than before. And so it's like, okay, yeah, just give me 10 episodes of this. You know, you have My Adventures with Superman that's really geared towards younger kids and with a more anime oriented bent. So it's like, yeah, bring on more animation. Let's do it. Do a Wonder Woman cartoon. Like, let's do it. I want more of it. And again, I really hope Marvel, seeing the success that they're getting with X-Men 97, that they start doing more of that too, where it's like, show us what these characters are up to in between, you know, movies, where it's like, I would have loved to see like a Captain America movie or show where it's just him going on missions leading into Winter Soldier or whatever. Like that would have been fun because you could bring in some more of the maybe more goofier villains that you wouldn't want to do on screen, but you can put them in a cartoon. It's not as like, oh, that's weird. That doesn't work. Like animated, you can kind of be a little bit more stylized with the some of the goofier villains and get them in there in a way that maybe they wouldn't work in live action, having them in an actual like suit or CGI'd. Like, let's do more of that. I want more of that. But moving on to our last piece of news, it was a really light week, I imagine, because you just have a lot of movies coming out right now, a lot of movies filming, and also the 4th of July weekend, so not a lot of news is going to break during that, I think. But Christopher Nolan, obviously, he's got a big movie coming out in a couple weeks in The Odyssey. I'll be going to see that and reviewing it for the Substack, so be on the lookout for that. But he talked about filmmaking and Hollywood in general. He said, and I quote, "If you are really interested in movies and the history of movies, the one thing you see absolutely is that you have to take risks to succeed. The biggest risk of all is to play it safe. That's what consistently in mainstream movies doesn't work. The audience is looking for something new." And I think he's very right in saying this. I mean, one of the biggest movies of the year was Obsession, which was a horror movie directed, I think, by a YouTuber. Very indie movie, didn't cost a lot, but it blew up. And same with Backrooms, was I think another YouTube director. Again, man, I feel old sounding like that. I think it's on the YouTubes. I do watch YouTube, people. I'm not that old. But I think he's right. I think it's not so much as fatigue from franchises, it's the playing it safe with franchises. Because I think, like, one of the things that made the MCU so amazing was it was a risk and something that hadn't been done before. Like, people forget there was a time where we didn't know if the Avengers movie was even coming. Like, that Iron Man tease with Nick Fury and everything, at the time, people just thought of that as like a cool, like, little Easter egg, and it really wasn't until Iron Man 2 with the teaser of Thor and them actually talking about Avengers and stuff that it was like, oh, this might actually be happening. And even then, I remember an element of seeing the trailers and stills for the first Avengers movie where everyone was just like, please don't suck, like, I really hope it's good, and it's just, I think that's kind of what we need to see more. Star Wars was a big risk back in the day. Even The Dark Knight and Batman Begins was kind of a risk because Batman was such a tarnished property after Batman Forever and Batman and Robin. So to have Nolan doing a more darker, grounded take on a character that was seen as being a goofy franchises and something not to take so seriously, that was a risk. And so I think it's not even so much as just needing something new property wise. It's just don't be afraid to take those properties into weird and interesting directions. Like, especially from the angle of like comic books and Star Wars and stuff. It's like there's a lot of material out there that, like, the reason those have existed for as long as they have is that they can and have been taken in new and interesting directions that we haven't that readers hadn't seen before or fans hadn't seen before, especially in the case of like Star Wars with like Knights of the Old Republic that really delved into the Sith and the Jedi and how the Force could be used and perceived in different ways. And that's what's been really frustrating with some of those franchises, that you don't have them taking the risks in those movies, and when they do, it's adapted in the worst way possible. So I do agree. It's just, if Spider-Verse. I mean, we've seen Spider-Man 1,000 times, and it's not like an animated Spider-Man is new, but it took it in a new and interesting direction with it. Same with Spider-Man Noir, like with Nick Cage, that TV show. It's like, what if we did a noir show but with Spider-Man in it and Spider-Man villains set in the 30s? It's like, that's cool and that's interesting. And so I don't even think necessarily that it's like you have to abandon franchises. Obviously studios need to take risks on new things, but it's also just be willing, when you have the right pitch, obviously be willing to take those characters and those concepts into interesting directions. Like the MCU, I used to remember hearing all the time about, like, oh, it's this kind of movie set with superheroes in it. Like Captain America, Winter Soldier was a political thriller, action thriller, but with Captain America in it. Guardians of the Galaxy was Star Wars, but with superheroes. Ant-Man was a heist movie, but with superheroes and superpowers. It's like, I, I think both studios, at least beforehand, kind of got away with that, where it was just, oh, it's just a standard, superhero movie. Or Star Wars, it was just like with Mandalorian and Grogu, like that was one of my biggest complaints, is that it felt so paint by numbers. There was not really any development of the characters. There wasn't anything too unexpected or unsurprising there. It was very much, I could see what was going to happen. And I think it's just, you get audience investment by developing good characters and also putting them into new and interesting situations. Like Infinity War, one of the things that works so well is not only that it was the buildup and culmination of 10 years worth of movies, but the fact that it ended in the superheroes losing. Like, we had never really seen that before, where the movie ends and you have the last shot of that movie is Thanos sitting on the porch looking at the sunset and smiling because he won. And like, you even have Captain America just going, he did it. He won. And it's just like, and then credits, and it's like, all right, well, you're going to have to wait a year to see what happens next. Like, do more of that. Just be willing to go in interesting and new directions. Like, that's one of the reasons I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for this. I didn't hate Eternals. It has its problems, but it was trying to do something different. And I think, and internet culture really hasn't helped with this. I think because people are so scared of different, that every time something comes out and it doesn't look to be doing the normal thing, or doesn't look like the normal thing, people are instantly like, "Oh, this is scary. This looks bad." I mean, I think, and this is, I'm no psychologist or genius, but I think that's part of the reason why Supergirl had an issue. Is, like I said before, is it wasn't the Supergirl people had grown up with and knew. It was like, well, this Supergirl has issues. She has trauma. She's drunk. She's not wanting to be a hero and stuff. It's different from what people had thought of that character, and I think a lot of people were turned off by that. And again, it's the movie's job to sell you on that idea. But I also think that's part of that risk is, okay, I hope I don't turn off my audience because I did something different. Like Last Jedi, I didn't agree with the changes. I will say Rian Johnson took a risk. He tried to do something different. I don't think it worked personally, but he tried. And again, that's where I think why Christopher Nolan, there's really only so few directors like him, is because he has the talent to take those risks and make them work. I think that's the part that he kind of left out, is like, you have to have, one, a studio willing to back your risk, and two, a creative that can pull those off. Because you can take all the risks you want and be subversive and everything, but if it's not well written and the characters are not good, you'll turn your audience off and studios will go back to playing it safe. So it's a balance. It's a balance. But interesting take, and one I definitely agree is they need to get back to being just creative risks but within boundaries. As always, I think there's you got to have that push and pull of just making sure that there's boundaries for the creative, but also that they can push up against those boundaries as much as possible. So, but that's all the news that we had for this week. Moving on to the paid subscriber questions. Again, if you want to become a paid subscriber, all you got to do is go to Substack and click the upgrade button, and it'll walk you through, and then you can submit whatever questions you like, even including what's my favorite dessert and stuff like that. Just simple ones or more complex ones. But we got some good ones today. Thank you so much to everyone who is a paid subscriber. Again, I really appreciate your support. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate it. And you have some great questions, so let's dive into them. So the first one is, if Marvel were to create more animated movies, particularly in the style of how the Spider-Verse movies are, what characters or groups would you like to see be made in that style? This one was not too hard. I know exactly what character I would want done. Doctor Strange. Imagine a Doctor Strange movie in the Spider-Verse style. Like, oh, the visuals would be off the charts. And then you could just go really, really psychedelic Steve Ditko with it, where it's just colors and crazy images and really just go full magic in a way the MCU kind of tiptoed around, and they dipped their toe in it a little bit more in Multiverse of Madness, which is why I like that movie a bit more than maybe some others, because it kind of finally put Doctor Strange more into the supernatural realm than the first movie. So that's what I want. I would want Doctor Strange in the Spider-Verse art style, because that would be freaking awesome. Thank you for that question. This next one. You are down in the basement recording your podcast when you hear a massive crash upstairs. You run up to the living room and discover that your wife and kids have accidentally opened a cosmic mystery box, and they are now completely possessed by the dark side of the force, symbiotes, Joker gas, or some other crazy thing. You have exactly 5 minutes to choose one fictional superhero or sci-fi character to teleport into your house to help you safely neutralize your family without anyone getting hurt. What would you do, and which character would you call in as your emergency backup? This one was interesting, and the answer might be very stereotypical. But first of all, what I would do if I found that out, I would first have probably a panic attack for about 2 minutes, which at least gives me 3 minutes to call in backup. And the backup I would call in, and I don't know if this is a dumb or the dumb easy answer or what, but I would call in Spider-Man, just because you got the power set of, strength, web shooters, wall crawling, spider sense. So it's like he has all the powers to neutralize them, but he also has the smarts to figure out what's causing this and possibly how to fix it. So if it's something like the dark side of the force, you have Spider-Man there who can inspire them to come back to the light. And he also has the powers to neutralize them. And then symbiotes, well, he has plenty of experience with those. Joker gas, he would be able to whip up an antitoxin in no time because he's got the smarts. So that would be my answer. Again, is it a cop-out? Maybe, but you didn't put any limitations on it, and there's a reason why Spider-Man's pretty awesome. So that's my answer, Spider-Man. I just call him up and say, hey, Pete, I need your help. Put on the costume. This is weird. But thank you for that question. That was a really fun one to try and brainstorm on. And this last one, which movie would improve if you could change the lead actor? No Gal Gadot movies allowed. Ouch. Fair enough. Fair enough. Kal-El, no. uh, it's in both cuts, by the way. I just want to point that out. That made not only the Justice League cut, but also the Snyder cut. So do with that with what you will. But this one was actually pretty hard to figure out because I was like, well, I want to think of a franchise that was not great, but not horrible. And because obviously, if you get a good actor, they can kind of elevate mediocre material. And it came to me, and this is funny because it's kind of we got a kind of a Marvel theme going. But I would choose Tom Hardy as Eddie Brock Venom. I would change the lead actor, and no disrespect to Tom Hardy, I think he's a great actor. I just don't think he fit that role. Besides his quirkiness and just the weird way he acts in those movies, on top of the I don't know what accent he's doing, but as someone who's from New York State, that is not a New York accent at all. I don't know what that is. It just sounds like. Let me put it this way: New Yorkers are not known for talking slow, so I don't know what the creative choice was for that accent, but it didn't work for me. So I really think if you got someone who could kind of really play the lovable scumbag a bit more, because that's what Hardy is going for in those movies. But I think if you got someone who could do regular New York accent, be the more lovable some scumbag, where it's like, man, you make some stupid choices, but man, you're charismatic as all get out. Like, I can't not listen to you and not care about you a little bit. I think that would have elevated those movies a lot. And it's like, and then you could still have him talking to Venom and all that, like, and I can't think of an actor off the top of my head that could do it, because it's obviously you need someone that is a little bit bigger in size, especially if you're going for classic Eddie Brock, and then again who could kind of have that. You know what? Actually, no, I just thought of this, and again, he's already taken, but maybe even someone like Wyatt Russell, he does a good job with that with John Walker, where it's like, man, you're a jerk, but I can sympathize with you, and you're kind of likable, and it's like, I don't know if he could do a New York accent, but I think he could. Someone like Wyatt Russell who could pull off the lovable jerk type character. I think that would have really helped those movies. But that's all I had for today. What I'm watching, obviously going to be watching X-Men 97, going to be watching Top Gun Maverick for the 4th of July with my in-laws, so I'm excited about that. Haven't watched the newest episode of House of Dragon, but I'm excited based on just what little images I've seen. I've been avoiding spoilers as much as I can. Darn you, internet. But I'm excited about that. And then, of course, the current article out is going to be the Supergirl spoiler-free review, so check that out if you haven't. Next week, I will have the spoiler article for Supergirl for paid subscribers, and then my Wednesday article for all subscribers is not a review. First time in about over a month that I haven't had a review. But the article is going to be on what Marvel characters I think deserve their own special Disney Plus one shot. We had Punisher One Last Kill come out a couple months ago, and I got me to thinking, what other Marvel characters would I want given that similar treatment? So be on the lookout for that. Hope you enjoy it, and I can't wait to hear what characters you think could get their own one shot. Be sure to comment that on the Substack, and also on this podcast. Comment what character you would want to help you in a crisis like the one I had to experience there, or what Marvel character would really benefit from the Spider-Verse treatment. So just comment away, let me know. Thank you so much for listening, and to all of my fellow Americans, have a happy 4th of July. Don't blow any fingers off with fireworks. And anyone who's visiting the country for the World Cup, welcome, enjoy, eat lots of American food, lots of cheeseburgers and French fries, and I will see you back next week with another episode. Bye.